What's up, everyone? Texas Runner Outdoors here today. Got a little project slash experiment I'm going to try to do. Um, been trying to find a solution for Jerrycan mounting to my roof rack. Jordan from BFM Overland gave me this, and this will mount a Jerrycan in like the upright position, and that's cool. But I like more of a low profile where it's laying more on like this on the roof rack. And I want the ability to have two of them mounted. So, been drawing some pictures and looking at some of the other brands that offer that already, and decided I'm gonna make one out of angle iron. So I went to Home Depot to price the angle iron I would need and all the materials I'll need, and it was like 160 bucks. So you might as well at that point buy a prefabricated one from Front Runner or one of the other name brands that are out there, because they make good products. But I like the DIY stuff, and I like to try to save money whenever I can. So I remembered I had an old bed frame. These are the cheap little bed frames that you get probably for free or super cheap when you buy a bed. And I was like, man, it's basically iron, angle iron. So maybe I can get creative and use this to build a real basic generic Jerrycan holder for the top of my 3rd gen 4Runner. So pricing the 4Runner in a lot of my videos, some of the stuff's DIY mods I've done, some of it's just kind of the things that you buy that are prefabricated. But I built this roof rack. Don't mind this. This actually is what I used to strap my Jerrycan to back in the day. But I built this roof rack out of Unistrut. Paint's coming off in some areas. That's not a big deal for me. I care more about functionality than aesthetics. No one looks at the top of here. But this has been great. I use the taller stuff, mounted to my factory rails, using all grade 8 hardware, and I've had it like this for a couple of years now, and I got my storage boxes mounted up there. I like that it has all the pre-made holes on here, and it's allowed me to use it for, it's very versatile, in other words. And so I know for sure I'll be able to mount something up here fairly easy, and it's going to go right here. This is the designated space I have for it. I used to have my recovery boards in there, and now they're inside here. And I think eventually I'm going to mount them to the top of that box so that I can free up some space inside that box. And maybe the recovery boards will take some of the heat instead of the black storage box, because I don't know how well that's going to hold up in Texas heat. It's crazy hot this year. So anyway, I'm trying to find a way to mount jerry cans to here, so I can have one fuel can, one water can mounted to the top, or two jerry cans full of fuel, whatever, until I get a rear swing out. So that's kind of where I'm at, and yeah, let's see what happens. All right, so after stripping off all the little odd pieces like legs and wheels and whatnot, I yielded quite a bit of usable angle iron. I need to use these, or attempt to use these, for the bottom, since they already have pre-drilled holes. Hopefully these will line up with some of the Unistrut on my roof rack, and then it'll be a direct bolt-on application. So this will be kind of like the bottom rails. It'll be framed out on the bottom, and then I'm gonna have a frame on the sides, frame on the back, and some sort of either locking mechanism that folds over the front like on the Smitty built and others, or just the ability to run a strap over it. Again, I'm not going for like aesthetics too much. I don't want it to look trashy, but mostly going for function here. But I did get some usable, I would say that's probably 1 inch to 1.25 inch angle iron. This is probably closer to 1 inch. And so I think I got enough to do the project. Got a little bit left over there if I need some little scrap pieces or whatever. I've never welded in a coping pattern, so I'm gonna try that. I'm doing everything with just an angle grinder, so don't really feel like cutting a bunch of 45, so I'm gonna try the coping method to to join the pieces together. So we'll see how that goes. So I cut this angle iron down to 19 inches in length. These are going to be the sides. The holes didn't line up on the roof rack like I wanted them to, so I said, you know what, that's fine. I'll drill the holes on the bottom where I need them to, and I can use these holes potentially for the hooks on like some straps or some bungee cords or whatever. So that's fine. I did 19 inches because the can was right around 18 and a half, and that gives me a 1/4 inch of tolerance back and front. So you know, I don't want to make it too tight of a tolerance where I couldn't get this thing to sit in there, especially considering it's going to be on a roof rack and I'm going to have to like pick it up. They weigh approximately 40 pounds when they're full, 45 pounds. So yeah, so I decided that the shorter angle iron will sit on top of the taller angle iron to make up for some of that height difference there. And I'll just weld it in the corners there instead of cutting and coping. It's gonna look similar to this. Right now I'm debating on, do I want to put some sort of divider in the center? If I don't, then if I only run one can, it's gonna kind of teeter-totter. Just wanted to point out that I made the width 15 inches, probably a little generous. I could probably take 1/2 inch or maybe even 1 inch out of that if I wanted to. But I think it's kind of nice having a little bit of a loose tolerance to some degree. There'll be a brace on the bottom too. I just don't want it to be too tight. Okay, I decided no space or no divider. And the reason is because if I want to run one can, I could just lay it like this and it fits pretty much perfectly in there. So I got the bottom main frame kind of fabbed up, prepped up. I'm going to tack the corners here. Then I'm going to go back and just do a full bead here on all corners. And then what I decided I'm going to do is put some angle iron on the back side like that to make a back frame. Got it tacked up. Now I'm going to weld the corners. I got the 4 corners welded up, and I'm going to move on to the next step. I like to use this. I've had good luck with it in various colors on different pieces of work that I've done. So let me spray all these grinded parts so they don't rust. So this is what it looks like. One coat of paint. I'm not going to do a full paint job on it quite yet, not until I'm done with it. I'm going to have a back piece that goes across here to finish that frame out, and then I'm going to get some flat strap, put a brace down the middle on the bottom, maybe a T, and then definitely an angled piece from the top here down at an angle this way on both sides, just to give some extra support and also kind of hold the cans in if there's 2 of them. So I scuffed it up with some 320 sandpaper and then just used some mineral oil, wiped it down real good. And that's usually what I do to prep any of the paint surfaces I do. And I use that paint that I showed you earlier in the video. I've had really good luck with it. So that's what we got so far. I'm going to finish this job later on this week and finish out this video. Alright, so I got it prepped up. I'm going to put a strap from here to here. That'll give it some bracing and also kind of contain the containers, so to speak. And then I'm obviously going to do well, actually on the inside here, I'm going to do another piece of angle across, and so that'll serve as when they're mounted in this position as a backstop. And I'm also designing this to where in the future, if I get a rear bumper, which I will eventually, maybe I can mount this, or for someone who wants to mount them vertically, we'll have that option. And there's going to be a wider piece that goes back here as well. So got that prepped up. I'm going to cut the back piece here, cut these diagonal pieces, and get it all welded up. I got that back piece welded on. Excuse me. There will be the bottom piece if I mount it this way in the vertical position. Got the side angle pieces welded on. And last piece I'm going to do is the sticker stuff down the center. I'm done for today, man. I need to spend some time with the family and cool off a little bit. So that's going to go in there, just give it some bottom support. I'll weld that in there, paint it all with a couple of coats of that paint that I showed earlier in the video. And this thing's ready to rock and roll. Alright, so I got it all done, ready for paint. Still got to drill some holes for mounting, but worked out pretty badass. I like these on the side, came out really good. It adds a little bit of an aesthetic look to it, but also obviously holds the cans in place. Again, these are going to be mounted like this on my roof rack, at least until I get a rear bumper, but that should be good for what we do. There's only been a couple of times where I really felt the need to carry a jerry can full of fuel. It's usually when we go to pins, because you're traveling in sand for a very long time, and that just, you can run out of gas pretty quick. And then one other time when we went to New Mexico on a recent trip, I mean, we were good, but I was a little worried because I'd never been that far out. But the ability to also carry 10 gallons of water, I think that's going to be pretty beneficial. So now I don't have to have jerry cans of water or jugs of water in the hatch anymore. I can just store them up top. When we get to camp, I can just bring them down. And I think it'll work out. I'm pretty excited about it. I've been wanting something like this for a long time. The more space that I can have inside my rig by putting things on top, the better. Obviously, there's a balance between weight and being top heavy and rollover risk and all that kind of stuff. But it's not going to be every day that I'm traveling like this. I think it's gonna be just fine. These back pieces I put on give it some extra support down low, so it's virtually impossible for them to slip through, and also gave it a better look, or a more complete look, I think, as well. And so, like I said, overall I'm pretty happy. I don't like the idea of having to carry 40 pounds of fuel or water and throw it on the roof rack and take it down all the time. It is a little cumbersome, but while I'm young enough to do that kind of stuff, I will. Alright, so this is the final product. It's all painted up, ready to go. See what it looks like mounted on the vehicle. Finally got this thing mounted up to the roof rack, and I gotta say I'm overall really happy with it. I probably got about 3 hours total working on it, spread out during multiple evenings and some of the weekend, just when I had free time. It was a fun project overall. I'm learning how to weld. Not the greatest welder, but it'll hold, and it was a lot of fun. It's gonna hold really well. I gotta say, these are really heavy. They are pretty hard to get up here. I kind of rested it on my awning at one point when I was loading up here. They are heavy. Not the easiest thing to do, but it frees up a lot of space inside the vehicle and gives me a secure way of carrying extra fuel on the trips where I feel like that's required. So again, overall super happy with it. Hopefully someone can take something away from this video and make something similar. Maybe you can even mount it to the inside of a bed of a truck, or a rear bumper like I plan on doing. But thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video. Hope someone can take something away from it, and let me know what you think in the comments.